Something was wrong with Mitchell Brower's best bull, and nobody could figure out what. That was the mystery that started it. Not the field, not the weeds, the bull. Garrison was a 7-year-old Hereford, 1,400 pounds, the best sire Mitchell had run in 16 years of ranching outside of Quarryville in southern Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. His calves weaned heavier than any other bull Mitchell had tried. His temperament was dead calm. His feet were perfect. On paper, Garrison was everything a cattleman wants in a breeding bull. But something had changed. Over the past 18 months, slowly. So slowly that Mitchell almost missed it. Garrison's coat had gone dull. Not patchy, not falling out. Dull. The kind of change you notice in photographs when you compare this year to last year and realize the animal in the newer picture looks like someone turned down the contrast. His mane was thinning. The thick hair along his crest that should have been heavy and dark was brittle and breaking. His hooves, always hard, always black, were showing vertical lines, stress rings, the kind of grooves that form when something disrupts the keratin growth cycle from the inside. And his breeding numbers had dropped from 89% conception 2 years ago to 74% last season, still functional, but declining, a trajectory that points in one direction. Mitchell called Dr. Kim Prosser, the large animal vet out of Strasbourg. Kim ran everything: blood panel, mineral levels, liver function, thyroid, parasite load, reproductive soundness. Everything came back normal. Mitchell, he's clinically healthy, Kim said, sitting at his kitchen table with the lab results spread between the coffee cups. Every test I can run says this bull is fine. But I agree with you. His coat, his hooves, the conception drop. Something is happening that I can't measure. That sentence, something is happening that I can't measure, is where the story turns. Because Mitchell Brower was not an ordinary cattleman. And what he did next is something no ordinary cattleman would have considered. Mitchell was 64 years old. He ran 110 cows on 320 acres of limestone-based pasture in the rolling farmland between the Susquehanna River and the Maryland line. Good ground, the kind of soil that grows grass thick enough to justify the price of the land. But before Mitchell was a rancher, he was a scientist. 12 years at the USDA's Agricultural Research Service studying plant diversity and grazing systems. A degree in plant science from Penn State. A career that ended in 2008 when he quit the government and bought the farm he'd been driving past for 20 years because he wanted to test something that 12 years of research had been pointing toward. The question was simple. The answer was not. Why do cattle on diverse, unmanaged pastures consistently outperform cattle on improved monoculture pastures? Even when the monoculture pastures test higher in crude protein and digestible energy. The USDA data showed it. Studies from New Zealand showed it. Research from France and Australia showed it. Cattle on messy, weedy, mixed-species pastures had better coats, fewer foot problems, lower parasite loads, and higher reproductive rates than cattle on clean, uniform, improved grass. The difference wasn't huge, but it was consistent. Across climates, across breeds, across decades. Nobody could explain it, because nobody was measuring the right things. Mitchell believed he knew what the right things were, and Garrison's declining health gave him the reason to test it. On a Wednesday morning in April, Mitchell walked to the gate of the worst 60 acres on his property and opened it. His neighbor, Dale Kepner, was at the fence. Dale had been farming the same ground for 40 years, sprayed his pastures with broadleaf herbicide every spring, ran clean fescue stands that looked like golf courses, and produced predictable tonnage per acre. Dale looked at the field Mitchell was about to put his best bull into. 60 acres of ragweed standing 3 feet tall, broadleaf plantain covering the ground in thick rosettes, curly dock along the fence line, chicory blooming blue in the corners, white clover spreading through the low ground, dandelion, yarrow, wild carrot, lamb's ear, the full catalog of everything the Agricultural Extension Service called weeds. Mitchell, that field is nothing but ragweed and dock and whatever else God puts on ground, nobody takes care of. You're going to starve that bull in there. Mitchell looked at the field, then at Dale, then at Garrison standing behind him. "I'm not going to starve him, Dale. I'm going to let him eat." Dale shook his head, the headshake of a man who's been spraying for 40 years and believes that anything growing in a field that isn't fescue is an enemy. Mitchell opened the gate. Garrison walked through, stopped. His head came up. His nostrils flared wide. The slow, deep inhalation of an animal entering an environment that smells nothing like the world he's known for 7 years. What happened in the first hour was the moment that changed everything Mitchell understood about cattle nutrition. And it began with something so simple that Dale Kepner, watching from the fence, didn't even realize he was seeing it. Garrison didn't graze. He selected. On fescue pasture, Garrison ate with his head down in a straight line. Mechanical. Bite, step, bite, step. The monotone consumption of an animal on a monoculture that offers no choices. In the weed field, his head moved constantly, not down in a line, side to side. Scanning. He walked past a clump of ragweed without stopping, past foxtail without interest, then dropped his head to a rosette of broadleaf plantain and grazed it down to the crown with the precision of a man picking one item off a shelf in a store full of options. Moved 10 feet, ignored the fescue growing between the forbs, found a stand of chicory, stripped the leaves from 3 plants, moved again, located a patch of curly dock and ate every leaf, leaving the stems. Mitchell timed it. In 60 minutes, plantain for 19 minutes, chicory for 14, dock for 11, white clover for 8, grass for 6, dandelion for 2. 73% of the bull's intake was plants that every farmer in the township would have sprayed. Mitchell sat on the fence and wrote the numbers in a notebook. His hands were steady, but something behind his eyes was moving fast. 12 years of USDA research, a hypothesis he'd carried since 2006. And now, a 7-year-old Hereford was writing the proof in real time with his mouth. The bull was self-medicating, selecting plants based on what his body needed, not what a nutritionist recommended, not what a mineral block provided, not what a feed tag listed, what 10,000 years of bovine evolution had programmed into his brainstem as, "Eat this when you feel like this." The scientific term is zoopharmacognosy, animal self-medication through plant selection, documented in primates, in elephants, in parrots, barely studied in domestic cattle, because domestic cattle have been on monoculture pastures for so long that nobody thought to ask what they'd choose if given the option. Mitchell gave Garrison the option, and the answer was everything humans had been eliminating. He watched every day. The pattern held. Same species, same proportions. Plantain first, chicory second, dock third, clover fourth, grass last, always last, every day for 2 weeks. The bull wasn't browsing randomly. He was filling a prescription. At 3 weeks, the first change. Garrison's coat. Subtle. A shift in sheen that Mitchell caught in photographs before he saw it in person. The dull, flat hair was developing the light-catching quality that healthy coats produce. The difference between a window filmed with dust and one just cleaned. At 6 weeks, undeniable. Garrison's coat was thick, smooth, and alive in a way it hadn't been in 18 months. His mane was filling in. The brittle texture was gone. New hoof growth at the coronary band was smooth. No stress rings. The keratin was rebuilding from the top down. At 8 weeks, Kim Prosser came for a scheduled herd check. She examined Garrison before Mitchell said a word. "Mitchell, what changed?" "His coat is completely different." Mitchell showed her the field, showed her the intake data. Plantain, 19 minutes. Chicory, 14. Dock, 11. Kim looked at the data. Then she looked at the field. Then she said something that Mitchell would remember because it was the sound of a professional revising her model in real time. "He's not eating weeds. He's eating medicine. And he's choosing the right dose himself." She explained the pharmacology. Plantain contains aucubin and catalpol, compounds that support epithelial tissue repair. Skin, hoof wall, the exact tissues that were declining. Chicory is a natural anthelmintic. It reduces internal parasite loads without chemical dewormers. The parasite test had come back normal, but normal on a monoculture might mean subclinical on a diverse pasture. Dock accumulates iron and sulfur from subsoil layers through its deep taproot, minerals that shallow-rooted grass can't reach. Sulfur is the building block of keratin. No sulfur, no hoof quality, no coat quality. Clover provides saponins that improve mineral bioavailability, meaning the minerals Garrison was already getting from the mineral block were being absorbed better because the clover was enhancing the uptake. Every plant the bull was selecting had a function, and the combination of all of them was addressing the exact deficiencies that no blood test could detect, because no blood test measures aucubin levels or saponin intake or sulfur from dock taproots. Kim looked at Mitchell. You knew this was going to happen. I hypothesized it. Garrison proved it. The breeding season was the final confirmation. Mitchell turned Garrison out with his cows in June. Same cows, same management. Garrison now spent 3 weeks per month in the weed field and 1 week with the cows. Fall pregnancy check. Kim ran the ultrasound. 91% conception, up from 74. 17-point increase in 1 season. No supplements, no pharmaceuticals, no veterinary intervention. The only change was access to 60 acres of plants that the entire agricultural establishment had spent 50 years telling farmers to kill. Mitchell presented the data at the Lancaster County Cattlemen's meeting in January. 60 farmers in folding chairs, slideshow with coat photographs, hoof comparisons, intake data, conception rates. The room was quiet through most of it. Then Dale Kepner raised his hand. The neighbor. The herbicide man. So you're telling us the stuff I've been spraying for 40 years is actually good for cattle? Mitchell chose his words carefully. What we call weeds are plants that cattle evolved eating: plantain, chicory, dock, clover. These aren't invaders. They're part of the original system. We removed them because they don't look like grass, and we decided grass was all that mattered. But the cattle never made that decision. Given the choice, my bull chose the weeds over the grass 73% of the time, and every measurable health indicator improved when he did. A second farmer spoke up. So we should stop spraying? I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm telling you what happened on my farm with 1 bull in 1 field over 8 months. What I'm suggesting is, before you spray that broadleaf field next spring, put cattle on it first. Let them decide what's a weed and what's a meal. You might be surprised. Dale came to Mitchell's farm 2 weeks later, stood at the fence watching Garrison select plantain with methodical precision. 20 minutes. Then, I've got a 15-acre field I was going to spray in March, full of dock and chicory. My daddy sprayed that field every year for 30 years, told me weeds were the enemy. Mitchell looked at him. Don't spray it. Dale looked at Garrison, then at Mitchell, then at the field full of plants he'd spent his career eliminating. Now you're telling me the enemy was the grocery store. Mitchell leaned on the fence. Your daddy wasn't wrong. He did what the Extension Service told him, what the chemical companies sold him, what the colleges taught. Kill the weeds, plant improved grass, maximize tonnage per acre. It made sense on paper, but the paper never asked the cow what she wanted to eat. He paused. The cow always knew. We just stopped listening. Dale didn't spray his east field that March, put 12 cows on it in April. By September, 3 of them had resolved chronic foot rot he'd been treating with antibiotics for 2 years. Their coats improved. Calving interval shortened. His vet couldn't explain it with blood work because the tests measured the minerals Dale was already supplementing, not the compounds the weeds were providing. Dale called Mitchell in October. I think you were right about the weeds. Mitchell smiled, the one that counted most that year. Garrison is 9 now. His coat is the best it's been since Mitchell bought him. His hooves are clean and hard. Stress rings grew out completely by the end of the first year. Conception is held above 88% for 2 consecutive seasons. He spends most of his time in the weed field. The 60 acres Dale called the worst ground on the property, the ground Mitchell calls the pharmacy. Kim Prosser includes Garrison's case in the continuing education talks she gives to vets across the region. She calls it a case study in zoopharmacognosy, animal self-medication through plant selection. The farmers call it something simpler, letting the bull pick his own groceries. The 60 acres still looks like a weed field. No rows, no uniform stand, no clean lines that tell a passing farmer this land is managed. But it is managed by an animal that's been selecting his own forage since the gate opened, and the management is producing better results than anything Mitchell achieved with improved fescue and a commercial mineral program. Dale drives past Mitchell's field every morning, used to shake his head. Now he slows down. He told his wife, "I spent 40 years killing the plants that Bull is eating to stay healthy. $1,200 a year on herbicide to remove the things his body was looking for." He paused. Some fields aren't broken. Some fields are a pharmacy that nobody thought to open. And some bulls, given the choice between what humans plant and what the ground grows on its own, will choose the ground every time, because the ground was there first, and it remembers what the animal needs, even when the farmer forgot.